A very good morning, students. Welcome back to online session on programming for problem solving course. In our previous session, in your third unit, we have completed the standard library functions concept. In that, we discussed different mathematical functions. All the mathematical functions, whatever we used in our last session, we said all they are predefined functions. So predefined in the sense we're not writing the code for those functions. Simply we are doing the declaration of that functions and we are doing the calling. The definition, it is already there in the header files. So simply by including those header files into our program, we are making these functions functional. These predefined functions functional. And we discussed the concepts related to these predefined functions, like we said, different mathematical functions: ceil function, floor function, then we have truncate, round, square root, power. All these functions we discussed. So we'll go a step further in third unit and we discuss what concepts left in the third unit and how we are going to wind up those concepts. I mean, in how many sessions I'm going to complete your third unit, that we will discuss. And along with that, few of the concepts also we will discuss in today's session. Okay, a few of the third unit concepts I mean to say. So quickly we'll go to the next slide. So over here you can see this functions concept. The entire concept we have completed, both built-in and user-defined functions we discussed, uh, and parameter passing techniques, interfunction communication, call by value, call by reference, that also we discussed. Then passing arrays to functions, this one also I have completed. So how we can pass the individual elements from a function, how we can pass the individual element addresses from an array to the function, and how we can pass the whole array as parameter to a function, that also we discussed. So in today's session, I'll be starting this basic algorithms concept. So and hopefully we'll do the searching as well. We'll complete the searching as well. So coming to this sorting algorithms, both bubble sort and selection sort, we will discuss in our next session. And finding roots of an equation. So the last concept in this basic algorithms, finding roots of an equation. This thing we do in your lab because it is a lab practical program. Over there itself I will explain the concept and also will do the practical on this finding roots of equation in your PPS lab. Okay, so without much ado, let's just start this basic algorithms concept, and with searching we will conclude this session. Okay, so basic algorithms, so we need to define the term algorithm, and many of the times we have defined this algorithm in your basic classes, the starting classes only. So we said algorithm is nothing but it is a step-by-step approach, isn't it? An algorithm is nothing but it is a step-by-step approach for solving a given computational problem. So whatever computational logic you are following in order to solve a computational problem, if you put that logic in an orderly manner, step by step, we call it as an algorithm. So in programming, generally we use this algorithm term in programming only. In real life scenarios or in real time scenarios, will have a different name, different terminology. The procedure is same, but we use some different terminology to indicate an algorithm. We don't say when we are constructing a building, we don't say just go and get an algorithm, isn't it? In real time scenarios, the concept will be different. In programming scenarios, we use the term algorithm. So whatever strategy, whatever thing we are following in both real-time scenarios as well as in programming world, they are the same. Okay, the techniques for solving the problem, they are the same, but the terminology what we use is different. So this thing you have to understand and this thing you have to remember. Hopefully you do that. So let's just quickly go to this slide. And yeah, in programming, algorithm is a set of well-defined instructions in sequence. It is a well-defined instructions in sequence to solve the given problem. Okay, algorithm is nothing but it is a set of well-defined instructions in sequence to solve the problem, to solve the given problem. Hopefully you understood. So the next thing, algorithms are universal. Universal means as far as the programming languages are concerned, we have many different programming languages that you know. We have C, C++, Java, Perl, COBOL, Fortran, okay, Algol, many different programming languages we have surrounded in our real-time world as well as in our programming world. But when it comes to the algorithm, it is universal. Universal in the sense as we are not following any programming approach or as we are not following any syntax and semantics when writing the algorithm, it is universal. That means algorithm written in C programming, I mean for C programming, we should not say in C programming, for C programming, the same algorithm you can use for any other type of programming language. So that's the reason we are saying algorithms are universal in nature. They're not specific, they are universal in nature. So the algorithm you use in C programming language is also the same algorithm you use in every other programming language. So whatever algorithm we are narrating for the solution to frame in C programming language, the algorithm can be same for other programming languages as well. We don't need to change anything in the algorithm when you are changing the programming language. That's what this statement indicates. So the next thing, the last thing, the algorithms are written in natural languages. So generally how we are writing the algorithms? In natural languages, irrespective to the computer programming language. We are not using any computer programming language when narrating the algorithm. Okay. So we generally write the algorithms in natural language. So the qualities, properties, characteristics of a good algorithm. How a good algorithm should be written. Okay. So these qualities if you give to your algorithm, we can call that algorithm as a good algorithm. Okay. Or an efficient algorithm we can say. Because we said whenever we are giving a problem to some set of people, to some group of people to narrate the algorithm, what they are doing, they are following their own approaches. So if I give a problem, a real-time problem or a computational world problem to a group, I mean class of students with 60, okay, so what will happen, I will get 60 different approaches to solve that problem. Okay, for any given problem there are n number of approaches to solve the problem. We discussed this thing already. So in among those n approaches, which one is the efficient? How we are going to make the assessment? So based on this criterion, okay, if you check the quality, because quality wise if algorithm is efficient, simply we can say that algorithm as an efficient algorithm. So what qualities an algorithm should have, that we discuss in this slide. Okay, input output should be defined precisely. Every algorithm should know what input we have to give, I mean what input it has to take and what output it has to give. It should be precisely defined. Number of inputs, number of outputs, it should be precisely defined. Okay, so this is the first quality of your algorithm. If your algorithm is having this one, if it is if it knows what input it has to take and if it knows what output it has to give, then we can call that algorithm as a good algorithm. Then each step in your algorithm should be clear and unambiguous. So there should not be any ambiguity when you go for a step, a particular step in the algorithm. You should be clear with, I mean it should be clear with what actions we have to perform in order to complete that step. It should be well defined and it should be unambiguous. It should be clear. There should not be any confusion that how we gonna perform that particular step. Okay, and this quality we are expecting from all the steps in your algorithm. So that's the reason why we said each step in your algorithm should be clear and unambiguous. There should not be any ambiguity, there should not be any confusion when you are processing a particular instruction inside your algorithm. Okay, then algorithms should be most effective among many different ways to solve a problem. So whatever algorithms you got, from those algorithms select the effective one. based on these qualities, based on these characteristics, properties, select the best one for solving the given problem. Okay, an algorithm shouldn't have computer code, so as much as possible, because it is irrespective to the programming language, it is universal, we said. Okay, algorithm is universal, we said, so we should not put any kind of computer code in an algorithm. So avoid as much as possible keeping the computer code, I mean programming code inside the algorithm. Try to make it, I mean, easier for a lame person as well. Okay, so an algorithm shouldn't have computer code. Instead, the algorithm should be written in such a way that it can be used in similar programming languages. So if you have multiple programming languages to be used, then you should not change anything in your algorithm. When you write the algorithm for the first time, you make in such a way that it can be used in multiple programming languages rather than a specific programming language. So these are some of the well-known qualities of your algorithm. So if your algorithm is having all these qualities, we can call that algorithm as an efficient algorithm. See, as far as the algorithms are concerned, whatever we are doing over here, it is at a basic level we are doing. We just discussed the definitions and the qualities. So in your third semester, second year, first semester, you will study a subject known as data structures and algorithms. There we do the assessment, there we measure the algorithms. We'll give some scaling to the algorithm, and based on that scale, we'll measure the algorithm. Scaling in the sense how much out of 10. Okay, if you have 10 algorithms, how much you give out of 10, like 8, 9, what points you will give. Based on that number of points given to the algorithm, will measure the algorithms. This is nothing but measuring the algorithms. That measuring in terms of some mathematical functions, we have a concept in your mathematics, functions concept. So if you have the knowledge of that functions, you'll be it will be very easy for you to measure the algorithms, because whatever measurement we do in terms of algorithms, we use this functions concept only over there, mathematical functions concept only over there, like which one is the best one, which one is the worst one, which one is the average one. Likewise we do the assessment. Okay, so it is entirely a different concept. When it comes into your academics, you will definitely go through that and you will definitely learn that. Okay, so quickly, so after knowing the algorithm definition and the qualities of an algorithm, so we have to discuss two different things over here. One is the searching and the other one is sorting. So first we go with the searching concept, and after completion of this searching, we'll go to sorting. Okay. So what do you mean by searching? In general, you take, don't consider any specific thing, any specific domain. Don't go for any specific domain in your day-to-day activities, in your day-to-day life. Your searching means what? Searching, the definition, I mean, the meaning of this term, searching means what? We are looking for something, isn't it? We are hunting for something, or we are looking for something. That is what we call as searching. So suppose you lost your pen, or suppose you lost your money, you lost your mobile, anything. Okay. So immediately what you do, you start finding it, you start searching it. Okay. So after some time, I mean, if it exists, I mean, if it is not stolen, or if you have not thrown it away, then there is a possibility that you can find it, isn't it? I mean, after some time, after some searching, there is a possibility that you may find it. And if you have thrown it away and you forgot, or if you have lost it, some thief has stolen that particular thing, like thief has stolen your mobile, let us assume in that way. So what will happen? You will do the searching. In that case also, you will do the searching. Okay, you will look for that item, that mobile phone, in the regular places where you keep that mobile. uh, I mean, in those regular places you will search for it. Okay, as we considered, the thief has stolen that mobile, is there any possibility that you will find it? No, it is not possible, even though you do the searching. Okay, so you will search all the locations, and finally you conclude that I've lost it. Okay, I've lost it, like that you will conclude it. So Whenever you are performing searching, there are two possibilities. Either you will find the item or you will not find the item. Okay, if the item exists in your areas, in your locations, then there is a possibility that you will find it. And if the item does not exist in your areas, in your domain, okay, in your scope, then you may not find it. So whenever you are performing searching operation, there are two conclusions that you can give to that searching operation. Either you may find that item or you may not find that item. Okay, so whatever item you are searching for, okay, whatever item you are searching for, we call it as a target. Remember this one, we call it as a target. Whatever item we are searching for, we call it as a target. Suppose if you are searching for a pen, we call it as a target. Okay, if you are searching for a mobile, we call it as a target. So for every search operation, there are two possibilities. First is target found, second is target not found. These two cases we have to consider whenever we are performing the searching operation. Okay, so this is another common operation. After comparison, after addition, after all mathematical calculations, this is another type of important operation. Believe it or not, your entire data structures subject, whatever we do in your third semester, just now as I have given the explanation, believe it or not, that entire subject is dependent on this searching as well as sorting mechanisms only. Okay, searching as well as sorting mechanisms only. So searching, it is another common operation in computer science. Searching is a common operation. Many of the times we perform this searching. If you are looking for a file in your computer, that is nothing but searching only, isn't it? If you are looking for an application into your computer, that is nothing but searching only. So many different types of, if you're looking for a song, video, movie to be played inside your computer, inside your mobile phone, if you want a particular contact, okay, if you want a particular contact to call or to text, you will do searching, isn't it? You have to search for that contact, then only you can make a call, or then only you can send a text to him. If you are searching for a website on the internet, generally what we do, we open Google and we do the searching over there. So like this, many different types of searchings we perform. So we can say the entire computer world is dependent on this searching mechanism. Without searching, we can't do anything. And simply don't expect that at that major level we are going to discuss this concept. We will discuss the basics only. Searching will take a list of elements, like how I have taken a list over here, you can see in this example. Okay, we'll take a list of elements and we'll search for a given target in that list. Okay, we'll search for the given target in that list. So searching is a process used to find the location of a target among a list of objects. Okay, among a list of objects. So list of objects is nothing but list of elements given to you. It is an array of elements given to you, a list of elements given to you, and in that list they will also specify a particular target to find, a particular target to find. And immediately what we have to do, we have to look for the target inside the given list. We have to look for the target inside the given list. So one by one we do the comparison. We do the comparison of we do the comparison of given target with all the elements present inside the list. And if any element matches with the target, if any of the element matches with the given target, we say the target is found at so and so location, because all the locations in your target, they are marked with indexes, isn't it? Being an array, it will have indexes from 0 to maximum size minus 1. Okay, so all the locations inside your list, they are marked with index values like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the maximum size minus 1. So if you see this array with name A, so over here what I have an array with name A. So this particular array. So in this, how many elements we have? We have around 10 elements. Okay, we have around 10 elements, and the index values, when you see the first index, it is starting with 0, and the last index it is at 9. So maximum size minus 1, 10 minus 1. So likewise we got 9. So in these index values, there is a possibility that you can find the target at any of the location. If the target exists inside the list, there is a possibility, I mean, if it exists, there is no, we should not say possibility, you will find the element at so and so, I mean at some location. Okay, so if the target does not exist, then it is not possible that you can find the target inside the list. Okay, so searching is a process used to find the location of a target. So indirectly what we are doing after performing the search, if the target existing inside the list, we are returning the location, we are giving the location. Location is nothing but at so and so location target existing, at so and so location the search operation finds the target likewise. And if the target does not exist in the list, we are concluding the mechanism that we are saying that the target is not found inside the given list likewise. So always when we perform the searching operation, we find the location of a target among a list of objects. So in an array, searching means that a given value, finding the location index of the first occurrence. Okay, because there is a chance, there is a possibility that you may have duplicate values in the list. You may have duplicate values in the list. In that case, if you have the duplicate values in the list, will consider the first occurrence only, will not go for second, third occurrence likewise. Okay, will consider the first occurrence of that given target only. Okay, remember in that way. So in an array, searching means that given a value, finding the location. Location is nothing but index of the first occurrence of that element in the array. Okay, so let's just consider this array, this complete list over here. It is having 10 elements, like 4, 21, 36, 14, 46, 62, 91, 87, 81. So and the target given is here, you can see in this down cloud, here it is showing the target as 46. The target given is 46. We have to find for 46. We have to search for this 46 in this particular list. So what we do, we start from the first element. There are different approaches how we do that searching. So we discuss the basic one over here. So we start with the leftmost element and we do the comparison of this 4 with 46. It is not matching. Then we'll go to the next one. 21 with 46 not matching, 36 46 not matching, 14 46 not matching, 46 46 matched. Here we we found the element at location. At what location we found the element? We found at fourth location. Oh, sorry, fourth index value, that is fifth location, fourth index value. We found the element at fourth location, fifth location and fourth index value. So simply return that 4 index value as the output of your search operation. So we print on the output screen, we print that the element 4 is found at element 46 is found at fourth location, fourth index value, that is nothing but fifth location in your list. Location wise it is fifth location. Okay, but index wise it is fourth index, because index will start from 0. So this is 0th index, 1 index, 2 index, 3 index, 4th index. If you consider the locations, this is we should not say 0th location, isn't it? First location, second location, third location, fourth location and fifth location. Fifth location, that is fourth index value location. Okay, likewise we perform this. I hope you understood this one. It is very basic searching operation. It is very basic. Sorting is somewhat complicated, but believe me, searching it is very basic. Okay, searching already I have shown you how we do the searching and how what we give input, target we give input, and what we take output, the index value, the location of the element we take output. Okay, so there are two basic searching techniques. How many searching techniques we have means two basic searching techniques we have that can be applied on an array of elements. Okay, the linear sequential search and the binary search. Okay, two different searching mechanisms. The first one is linear sequential search, this one, And then we have binary search, this one. Okay, this is the first approach and this is the second approach. Hopefully, if time permits, we'll discuss both the things, or else we'll discuss only one. So in linear sequential search, whenever the list is not ordered, so when we have to go for linear sequential search, there are some criterions. I mean, what searching technique we have to use, because we said we have two techniques. So among these two techniques, what searching technique we have to use, what criterion we have to look for whenever before applying these searching techniques. So those criterions are nothing but, let me just take the eraser so that I can remove. So these two techniques, the first technique is linear sequential search and the second technique is binary search. So what criterion should be checked before applying any of the searching technique, in the sense, first look whether the list is ordered or not. Okay, ordered and unordered list, in the sense, ordered list in the sense it should be in a ascending order or descending order. All the elements in your list, they should be in ascending or descending order. So as you can see here, whatever list we have seen, it is not in order, it is an unordered list. Unordered list. So ordered list in the sense all the elements should be in a particular order, either ascending or in descending. So over here the list is not an ordered list. So hope you understood what I mean by ordered. So sequential search, when we have to apply, when the list is not ordered. So this is the first criterion we have to look for. So only when the list is not ordered, we have to go for sequential search, because when the list is not ordered, there is no other option we have. We have to go for sequential search only, because binary search always requires an ordered list. Either the list should be in ascending or in descending order, then only we can go for binary search. For linear search, no such criterion. Whatever list you have, you either you can go for binary, or I mean ordered or unordered. Both the lists you can take as an input to this linear sequential search. Okay, then if the list size is small, like up to 100 elements we can say. Okay, this is the second criterion. When the list size is small, we have to go for linear sequential search. And the third criterion is how often you are performing the search. How often, the frequency of the search operation, I mean to say, how often you are performing this search. So that I have taken as the third criterion. Okay, so if you are searching for too often, then this is not the best solution. Linear search is not the best solution. If you are searching, I mean, rarely, then only go for linear sequential search. If you are searching too frequently or too often, then go for binary search. So whatever criteria we have discussed over here, simply take the opposite of that one and all those things will apply to the binary search. So when we have to go for linear search, in the sense when the list is not ordered list and the list size is small, and if you're not searching too frequently, then go for linear search. Then binary, when we have to go for binary search, exactly opposite. The first one, when the list size, I mean when the list is an ordered list, as you can see, the list should be ordered list. And the second one, large size. The second one is large size. And the third one is searched too often. Searched too often. Here we said not searched too often. Here we said not searched too often. But here we are saying searched too often. That is the third criterion. So based on these three criteria, you have to decide what algorithm, I mean what technique you have to apply, whether it is linear or binary. Okay, so one by one we'll discuss both linear sequential search as well as the binary search. So the first searching technique, that is the linear sequential search technique, linear or sequential search technique. So in sequential search, the searching for the target will start from the beginning of the list. Always we start from the beginning, that is leftmost element. When I'm saying beginning, that means the leftmost element in the list, and will continue until the target is found. We'll start from the leftmost element and we do the comparison of the target with each and every element present in the list from the leftmost element. And till what extent we continue this process, in the sense until and unless the target is found. Okay, the target is found in the list. If the target is found, means there only we stop the searching process. There only we stop the searching process. Or if the target is not there, means how we do the conclusion, if we reach the end of the list. So if you have compared all the elements in the list and still you didn't find the target, so that means the target is not there. No target found case. Okay, the target is not there in the list. If the target is there, you will find the target and there only you stop the searching process. Because if the target is found, means we no need to continue and no need to do the searching for the rest of the, we no need to do the comparison for rest of the elements. So likewise, when the target is found, we conclude the searching process. And if the target is not found, then we checked all the elements in the list, that is until and unless the end of the list is reached. So if the end of the list is reached and still you didn't find the target, that means the target is not there in the list. So conclude the search operation by printing a negative message. Okay, so example, the first case, the target found case, so already we discussed. So then target not found case, that also we already discussed. So if you're, I mean, target found case, here we have the images for that one. Target found case, the image is this one. Target not found case, the image is this one. Okay, first we go with the target found case. So the following figure, that means this figure, lists the steps to find 62. So over here our target is what? 62. They have given the target. They are saying find this target 62 in the given list. Okay, the process will first compare the value with index, I mean value with the data at index 0, 1, 2, 3. Likewise, in sequence we proceed from the leftmost element towards the rightmost element. We proceed in a sequential manner, and before finding the element at fifth location is nothing but index value 4. Okay, so quickly go and see. Over here we have this list. This is my list, and first we are doing that 62. Our target is 62. We are looking for that 62 in this list. We started at 4th. Index 0 is 4. So do the comparison of 4 with 62. It is not equal. So what we have to do? Jump to the next element. Jump to the next element, that is 21. And here at 21, do the same thing. Compare with 62. Again, it is not equal. So jump to the next element. That is second index. If we have 36 over here, compare 36 with 62. Again, it is not equal. So jump to the next element. A of 3. Okay, that is fourth index. Sorry, fourth location, third index. Then we are comparing 14 with 62, not equal. Jump to the next location. So fifth location, fourth index value. Index, you can see here I have written the index. Index 0 we compared, 1 we compared, 2, 3. Likewise, now we are comparing index 4. Index 4 we are having 62. So 62, when you compare with 62, the values are equal. Target value and the element in the list value equal. So what we have to do? We have to conclude the searching over here itself, and we have to return the index value. That is fourth index. Fifth location, fourth index value we have to return from this searching operation. So in this way we perform the linear sequential search. So linearly, sequentially, we have to do the comparison of all the elements present in the list from left to right. From left side we have to start, and towards right we have to proceed, and we have to do the comparison of every element until and unless either you find the element or the end of the list is reached. If you find the elements, you have to print the positive response, and if end of the list is reached and still you didn't find the element, means you have to give a negative response. So this is target not found case. So what we are looking for, yeah, our target is 72. Here they have printed that one. Yeah, you can see here. Look for target 72. So what will happen if you are looking for target 72? What will happen? Just see over here. Again, we are starting from the leftmost element. Yeah, target 72 also it is there. Okay, I said no, it is not there. Okay, it is not there. So target is 72. Yeah, where is my marker? Yeah, here it is. Because many of the time I am getting confused with this marker. Okay, the target is 72, and we started comparison from 0th index. So we did the comparison 72 with 4, target not found. Go to the next element, 21 with 72, not found. 36, 14. Likewise, we do the comparison with all the elements, and here in the last case scenario over here, we are doing the comparison. 12th index also we are comparing. 12th index is nothing but 10 element at A of 11. 11th index, yeah, here there is a mistake. It is 0th index, it is first index. Likewise, yeah, it is fifth index. Fifth index is nothing but sixth location. So likewise, here it should be 11th index. There is a mistake actually. Okay, 11th index and 12th location. Okay, so we are comparing the 12th location element, that is 11 index location, with the target, with our target, that is 72. 72 not equals to 10. So at, yes, this is correct only. So he is talking about the after location, not 11 but after location. After 11 will be having 12, isn't it? Here 12th location, that is not in our consideration. So when the index value is 12, that means we reached the end of the list. When index value is 12, when index value becomes 12, that means we reached the end of the list. So if you reached the end of the list and still the target is not found in the list, that means this is target not found case. This is unsuccessful search in unordered list. Okay, target not found case. So when the target not found, we have to give the negative response. So over here, how the sequential search will be performed. So we are taking a module call sequential search. Okay, we are taking a module call that is sequential search. Then we are doing the comparison with every other element in the list. So see, the index value initially we have taken 0. This is something like a for loop. Index value initially we have taken 0, and this is my condition. The index value should be less than target in every iteration, and index plus plus. So simply will iterate this one, and what we are doing internally, internal to this one, in every iteration we are doing the comparison with the list of index with the target. And if at all your this search is successful, so simply we are printing that operation, I mean a successful message on the output screen. And if at all the comparison operation in all the iterations, I mean until and unless, here it should be size, I guess, yes, index value should be less than size. Okay, so if at all after all the operations also, if you're what we call, if you didn't find the element after all iterations, if you didn't find the element in the list, that means the target is not there in your list. So simply we have to print a negative response. So quickly we go and we do the demonstration of this sequential search program. So I'll be taking the help of our IDE. Yeah, this is my IDE. Over here I will write my program. So quickly, already the time is running out, so I need to be quick. So I have taken, I thought of explaining that binary search also, but it is taking too much time. stdio.h, then I'm going to use one function over here, that is with name sequential search, because we are performing linear or sequential search. So I will use sequential search function, and it will take the list, that is nothing but array, and it will also take the target to find, and it will also take the size of the list. Okay, so then write the main function. Okay, here you take int list of some 12, okay, 20, let's just make it round, 20 elements, and I'm going to read around 5 elements only. Then take integer type target we have to read, then index to run, then size to check the array boundary. Okay, so next is yeah, printf. Here you put enter the size, I mean how many elements you want to give inside your list. size of the list. How many elements you need inside your list. So then scanf, read it as size of the list. Okay, percentile d, read it as size of the list, size. Okay, then next thing is printf. Yeah, here enter any percentile d elements into the list. Percentile d elements into the list. Okay, all those elements we have to give input over here. So what is percentile d? That is size many elements, size number of elements we have to put inside the list. So simply take a for loop for all. Yeah, I'm running I equals to 0. I must be less than size I plus plus. I must be less than size. Okay, then I plus plus. So here, as we said, I equals to 0, I must be less than or equals to, I guess. No, not equals to, less than only. So here you go, and here you put one I, because I we are using in the for loop, that we need to declare. So now you read all the elements inside the list. Okay, percentile d comma and percent of list of I. So whatever size of elements you will input, whatever number of elements you will input, all those elements will come inside the list. Now my list is over. Then printf, read the target. What target you want to look for? The target you read. So enter a target value to search. Value to search. So then the target value we need to read inside the target variable. Scanf percentile d, read that thing into your target variable, and percent target. At the end put the semicolon. Now the target is with us, list is with us, and the maximum size is also with us. Simply call that function now. Okay, so index, basically my function is going to return index. So index equals to sequential search of, pass the list. First element should be a array, so list. Then second element should be the target. Then third element should be the size of the list. So after printing, okay, if at all your index, because we are if that unsuccessful, we are on unsuccessful we return -1. So if at all you will get the index value as -1, then printf percentile d does not exist, that is the target does not exists. Here you write, this will not work. Does not present, in the list. Okay, here you put 3 dots, then backslash n comma target, at the end put the semicolon. Just three dots just as a fun purpose I'm entering. Don't think that you need to put 3 dots over there, because many times you will get confused. So then else, yeah, print the positive case, that is target found. Percentile d is present, remove this does. Okay, is present in the list. Okay, conclude the operation. And what is that percentile d? Your target only. At the end put the semicolon. So likewise. So the next thing, yeah, here only we conclude this. Yeah, what is missing? The sequential search function definition is missing. So int sequential search of, read the list into list only, then read the target into target only, and read the size into size only, then write that function over here, very simple. we are declaring some index because we need to return the index for all index equals to 0. Yeah, using index we are running. Okay, or else instead of index you take I only. Because why I have taken index over here, it means because in order to resemble your code with the flowchart, here also we have taken flow index. So in the flowchart we have taken index. So that's the reason why I thought of taking the same variable names here and there. As you can see, index, list, target. Okay, how I'm performing this one means based on that only I thought of making the resemblance between the code and the flowchart. So index equals to 0, then index must be less than size, then index plus plus. So we are running a normal loop over here. Then inside this loop, yeah, if at all my index value is matching with list of index, that is nothing but the element inside the list is matching with target, then what we have to do, we have to return the index only. Return index. So in either case, if this is not true, I mean if your loop is exiting and you didn't find the element, means you have to return -1. That's it. Save this program and make it as sequential search.c. Program got saved. Now compile. As you can see, the compilation is successful. Then run. It will ask me to enter the size of the list. So I'm entering 5 elements. I said I'm going to input into my list. First element 23, 42, 3, 7, 9. 5 elements. So now how many elements I have into my list? 23, 42, 3, 7, 9. So if I look for 7, if I perform the search operation for 7 in my list, so 7 means again it will do the comparison from here. It will do the comparison. 7 will get compared with 23, not equal. Then 42, not equal. 3, not equal. 7, equal. So what it will do, when 7 7 matches, what it will do, it will return the index value. So what is my index value of 7? 7 index value is 3, because this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3. So 7's index value is 3, so it will return 3. Okay, so simply press the enter key and check what will happen. So I am saying enter a target value to search. I am entering 7. So I told the compiler to search for 7. I told the search operation to search for 7. So it will do the successful search and it will return the what we call index value. Index value is 3, so you will get 7 is present in the list. So it is not printing the index value. If you want, you can print that index value as well. It is not printing the index value, but it is simply saying 7 is present inside the list. So if you want to print the index value, that also you can do. Simply come over here as it is returning index. So here, in case if it is present, percentile D is present at index value percentile D in the list. So that percentile D is nothing but your index. Okay, simply save the program. So only minute change I have done here. This extra thing at index value percentile D. This extra thing I have added, and at the end this index I have added. Save it. Now compile. Compilation is successful. Now run. See, enter the size of the list. I mean, every time we have to perform, because we are not doing any permanent programming. It is completely static. All my variables are static, so every time I have to input. So enter any 5 elements into the list. So that is 43, 45, 676, 2, 3. Okay, hit the enter key. It is asking me to enter the target. So if I give 2 as my target, again at index value 3, so I will give the target 45 at index value 1. 45 where it is existing, this is 0th index, this is first index. So at 1 index value the target is existing, so it should print the element is 45 is present at index value 0 it is giving. Okay, 45 is present at index value 0 in the list, so some mistake over there. It should be at index value 1, right? It should not be at index value 0. So over here we started at 0. So first it is list of, yeah, here you can see list of index equals to target I said, so it should be equals to, only that small mistake. Okay, compile, compilation successful, then run. 5, then I'm entering 23, 45, 67, 8, 4. So if I give 8, so the index value is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 8 you give, see, 8 is present at index value 3 in the list. So likewise, 8 is present, it is present at what index it is present? 0, 1, 2, 3, third index. So if I give an unsuccessful case, compile, target not found case, so I'm entering the size as 5, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I give 23, all 23 is not existing in my list. As you can see, I have only 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in my list, and I'm searching for 23. Is it there? It is not there. Hit the enter key. 23 is not present in the list. Okay, so likewise, hopefully you understood this sequential search concept. It is an important concept, and it is an very basic concept. So you need to do the practice. It is an important LAQ, long answer question, so you need to do the practice for this one. Okay, the rest of the things we'll discuss in our next class. Thank you very much, students.